Hey guys, so it is another theory day on my tech blog. This time it's going to be about the difference between the different planes that the Poi can go through. Specifically where this is coming from is a really awesome graphic that Charlie Cushing uploaded to the Poi Theory group on Facebook, which has been stimulating some really awesome discussion and talk about kind of how we move between different planes in and around the body, right? Now, the way Charlie is essentially thinking about it is he's imagining that they're essentially a pair of spheres that create a total of 3 lanes around the body. There is an inner kind of core sphere, which is, you could think of as being analogous to the core of the body, in addition to an external sphere, which you could think of being analogous as to the point of reach where the arms can kind of get to, right? And it creates some really interesting dynamics in that, like, for instance, if you're talking about the shape that you create with weaves and inversions, for example, you're totally talking about moving from that external sphere to kind of close to that internal core sphere to back into the external sphere, whereas when you're doing a weave, you're going from one end of the external sphere to the other end of the external sphere, which I think is awesome. But I also think there's an excellent opportunity to take this idea one step further. And that is why I have this awesome diagram right here. Clearly you can tell I spent a lot of work doing this. Now, in looking at Charlie's diagram, it also dawned on me that there was another way you could think of these different lanes around the body, which is, imagine that these 2 black lines I've drawn on my notebook right here are actually my hands, right? Such that there, of course, is a zone to either side of my hands, and then there's a zone between the hands. Once again, it's a total of, call it 3 lanes, right? Now, if we kind of conceptualize the framing that we can create with these as kind of being autonomous from the body, it opens up a couple interesting possibilities for us. Number one, of course, there's a front end to it and there's a back end to it. And you can think of that as being kind of analogous to, you know, if we go back to the whole conversation on plane facing, you know, one of these is going to be the plane facing that, you know, from facing right forwards is going to look like my Poi are turning around counterclockwise in relation to me. Whereas if I walk around to the other side, they're going to look like they're going around counterclockwise in relation to me, right? But here's the cool thing about thinking in this fashion. It doesn't just have to stay on our sides. We could, for example, move it off to the side of the body, in which case this answers a really big question that I've had sitting around in my brain for the longest damn time, which is, are the moves that we can do, say, over here in wall plane fundamentally different from the moves that we do over here in wheel plane? Because it always feels like the counts are different. And the answer is no. The only difference is their relationship to the body and what vantage point you're seeing them from. So, to give you guys a couple of physical examples right here. Now, as I'm performing a 3-beat weave here in wheel plane, you'll note I'm essentially carrying my Poi back and forth to those outer lanes on the outside of my hands, and I'm pretty much not bothered with the lanes on the insides of my hands, right? Cool. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that you're going to view it from the side right here. And what you'll probably notice is that in a wall plane kind of context, this move usually appears to be the one that is symmetrical, in that this is a watermill, of course. We see both the right hand and the left hand taking turns being the one closer to the audience, right? And of course, this is analogous to a 2-beat weave, whereas when we make it a 3-beat weave, all of a sudden it feels like there's an extra beat on one of the hands. And we can totally carry this over to the side of us. And thus, instead of the side of the hand just being out in the middle of nowhere, it's now framed in by my body. So when performing a 3-beat weave in that kind of wall plane place, this is how it comes out. Oops. Yeah? So we can also take the same idea and apply it to inversions, which once again essentially go from the outside lane to the inside lane to the outside lane, like so. We can also do this in this wall plane kind of place, also like so. So what this ultimately tells us is that this kind of inside plane place that we're accessing on the side of the body rather than on either side of the body is fundamentally the same kind of arrangement that we would access from either side of the body right here. It's just that it so happens to be that we've changed the orientation of it now such that the body is walling in one side of it, right? Another interesting side effect of this is that when I'm spinning in wheel plane right here, I can't really access the other side of this move. I can't turn it into a reverse weave without switching direction. I actually have to take it through a place where it's in wall plane for a second before I can get there. Whereas if I keep it in wall plane, I have access to the reverse side of it. Yeah? So yeah, Charlie, I don't think this is exactly what you were insinuating, but it's nonetheless an interesting thought that this put into my head. And of course, the really cool part of that is that there's absolutely no reason why you always have to think of it as being a flat sheet. I'm actually thinking of it as being two concentric spheres, just like Charlie's kind of build of the core of the body in relation to the outside of the body, in that all of these concepts work if you shift one of those sheets over kind of to the side. So, for example, when we're going 3-beat weave right here, we can just as easily switch one of the poi into a horizontal plane, and all the same properties still apply. Yeah? So, I know that helped me at least a little bit understand some of those internal planes and use it therein and everything, but I'm mainly putting this out there for discussion and see what people think about it. So, leave me some comments, let me know, and I will see you guys later on the week. Peace.